In a moment that underscores the heightened tensions in the Taiwan Strait, China has escalated its military presence around Taiwan with live-fire exercises designed to showcase its military capabilities and send a pointed message to Taipei. These maneuvers come on the heels of a controversial speech by Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te in which he labeled China a foreign hostile force and outlined measures to counteract Beijing's influence and espionage efforts on the island. The military exercises, which began on April 1 and extended into a second day, involved the deployment of warships and fighter jets in close proximity to Taiwan. According to Senior Colonel Shi, a spokesman for the People's Liberation Army, the drills aim to enhance China's ability to control and seal off the seas and skies around Taiwan. He noted that live-fire long-distance strikes were conducted against simulated targets representing key infrastructure such as ports and energy facilities in the East China Sea. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense reported that 13 Chinese naval vessels were positioned around the island, with an additional 8 vessels including the aircraft carrier Shandong located about 190 nautical miles to the west. In the preceding 24 hours, Chinese military aircraft executed 76 sorties near Taiwan, further escalating the tension in the region. The backdrop to these military drills lies in President Lai's March 13 speech, which not only categorized China as a hostile entity but also introduced a series of measures aimed at bolstering Taiwan's defenses against perceived Chinese subversion. This includes reinstating military tribunals for cases involving espionage against military personnel. Beijing views Lai as a pro-independence figure fundamentally opposed to its claim over Taiwan. Chinese military commentator Major General Meng Xianqing emphasized that the exercises were intended as a stark warning to Taiwan, suggesting that a coordinated blockade would severely disrupt Taiwan's access to essential resources, leading to chaos within the island. If Taiwan loses its sea supply lines, its domestic resources will be quickly exhausted, he stated, highlighting the potential consequences of a real blockade scenario. Despite the aggressive military posturing, analysts suggest that the exercises are primarily aimed at intimidating Taiwan without escalating into open conflict. Su Yun, a researcher at the Institute for National Defense and Security Research, articulated that the military drills are designed to exert psychological pressure on Taiwan, particularly in light of Lai's provocative rhetoric. Moreover, the timing of these exercises appears to be strategically linked to Taiwan's relationship with the United States. Analysts like Amanda Xiao from the Eurasia Group posit that Beijing aims to send a message to the Trump administration portraying Lai as a disruptive force. This coincides with recent meetings between U.S. defense officials and their Japanese counterparts, where the commitment to countering China's growing assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific was reiterated. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, during a visit to Tokyo, reaffirmed America's dedication to maintaining a robust deterrence strategy in the region, including across the Taiwan Strait. These developments come amidst ongoing trade tensions between the U.S. and China, with additional tariffs expected to be implemented, further complicating the geopolitical landscape. As the situation continues to evolve, observers note that while China is keen to project strength, it is also wary of exacerbating tensions with the United States, particularly under the current administration. Wen Tisung, a researcher based in Taiwan, remarked on China's balancing act, indicating a desire to demonstrate firmness while leaving room for diplomatic off-ramps. The ongoing military exercises around Taiwan serve as a stark reminder of the fragile status quo in the region. With both sides entrenched in their positions, the implications of these developments will likely resonate beyond the immediate military context, influencing regional security dynamics and international relations in the years to come. As the situation unfolds, the world watches closely, anticipating how both Taiwan and China will navigate this increasingly complex landscape. In a striking development within China's political landscape, 2 senior officials from the Communist Party have swapped their positions in what is being described as an unprecedented move. This shift involves Li Ganjie, previously the head of the Organization Department, taking on the role of head of the United Front Work Department, while Shi Taifeng transitions to lead the Organization Department. Such exchanges among Politburo members are rare, raising eyebrows and prompting speculation about the implications for internal party dynamics. The announcement made on April 2, 2025 was confirmed by state news agency Xinhua, which reported on Li's participation in a meeting shortly after the transition. The official statement highlighted both leaders' new roles and included details about their immediate activities in their respective departments. This swap is particularly noteworthy as it reflects a potential recalibration of influence within the party, signaling a shift in priorities or strategies as China navigates complex domestic and international challenges. Li, Ganjie and Shi Taifeng are both members of the Politburo, the party's elite decision-making body, but notably they do not serve on the core 7-member standing committee. Their roles are critical. The organization department is primarily responsible for personnel decisions within the party, while the United Front Work Department handles the Communist Party's outreach to non-communist groups, ethnic minorities, and foreign entities. The exchange of roles may indicate an attempt to broaden perspectives within these departments, particularly in light of increasing domestic pressures and external diplomatic challenges. The timing of this move coincides with significant geopolitical tensions, particularly as China continues to assert its influence on the global stage while managing internal dissent and regional stability. Analysts suggest that this transition could be a strategic maneuver to strengthen the party's coherence and adaptability amid an evolving political landscape. In related news, as the global trade environment becomes increasingly fraught, the United States is preparing for further economic ramifications. President Trump has signaled his intention to impose extensive tariffs on several countries, including key allies, which could lead to significant retaliatory measures. The administration is reportedly considering emergency financial assistance for American farmers who are expected to bear the brunt of these new tariffs. This pattern echoes the previous trade war with China, where agricultural exports suffered substantial losses. The proposed aid package reflects a recognition of the potential financial devastation that could ensue from retaliatory tariffs, particularly in the agricultural sector, which is a vital constituency for Trump. Economic experts warn that this could lead to a complex situation where taxpayers might end up funding a bailout, leading to deeper political and economic implications for the administration as it seeks to balance protectionist policies with the realities of global trade dynamics. As these developments unfold both in China and the United States, the implications for international relations and domestic governance will be closely watched. The political maneuvers in China may indicate a shift towards a more dynamic internal structure, while the impending economic measures in the U.S. could reshape the agricultural landscape and broader trade relationships. Observers will be keen to see how these changes play out in the coming months, especially as both nations navigate the intricacies of their respective political and economic challenges. In recent months, the global trade landscape has been fraught with tension as speculation mounts surrounding a potential new agreement dubbed the Mar-a-Lago Accord, an initiative reportedly championed by the Trump administration. This proposed accord, reminiscent of the Plaza Accord of the 1980s, seeks to redefine America's economic strategy on the world stage, particularly in relation to China. While the White House has yet to officially confirm the details, the implications of such a move could be profound, evoking memories of Japan's economic stagnation following the Plaza Accord. The impetus for the Mar-a-Lago Accord appears to stem from a desire to address the U.S.'s persistent trade deficit, which many economists attribute to the overvaluation of the dollar. Stephen Miron, the newly appointed chairman of the Council of Economic Advisers, articulated this view in a November article suggesting that the administration sees a coordinated approach to currency devaluation as vital to revitalizing American manufacturing. As the U.S. pivots towards a more aggressive economic posture, concerns are growing about the potential fallout for China. The Chinese economy, often likened to Japan's during its peak, is already grappling with significant challenges, including a slowdown in growth, high youth unemployment, and reliance on low-wage migrant workers. The prospect of a tariff-laden trade environment presents a daunting challenge for Chinese manufacturers, particularly those heavily reliant on exports to the U.S. In a striking reflection of the current economic climate, recent reports illustrate how Trump's tariffs are beginning to impact Chinese factories, particularly within Guangdong province, a critical hub for manufacturing. Local business owner Johnny Pan noted a marked decrease in orders following the imposition of tariffs, stating, "We have to seek out new markets to get away from the U.S." Such sentiments underscore the precarious position of Chinese manufacturers, who now face not just the immediate consequences of tariffs but also the broader challenge of finding new markets amid economic uncertainty. The situation is further complicated by the Trump administration's ongoing efforts to impose reciprocal tariffs on all trading partners, a strategy that has been branded as Liberation Day. Set to come into effect imminently, these tariffs could significantly reshape trade relations, with estimates suggesting they could raise consumer prices by as much as 2.6% if other countries retaliate. Economic analysts are bracing for a potential recession, warning that the ramifications of these tariffs may ripple through the global economy. As the US and China navigate this tumultuous landscape, the stakes are particularly high. A significant portion of China's GDP, approximately 20%, depends on exports, making it vulnerable to trade shocks. While the Chinese government has responded with a measured approach thus far, acknowledging the need to avoid escalation, the overarching fear of instability remains palpable. In conclusion, as the global economic order continues to shift, the world watches closely to see how the Mar-a-Lago Accord will unfold and its potential ramifications for China. The interconnectedness of today's economies means that any misstep could lead to far-reaching consequences, not just for the US and China but for the global economy at large. As policymakers and investors prepare for the next chapter in this ongoing saga, the question remains: will the Mar-a-Lago Accord ultimately catalyze a new era of economic prosperity or plunge major economies into a deeper crisis? In recent weeks, tensions between China and Taiwan have escalated, culminating in a series of military drills that Beijing has characterized as a stern warning against Taiwan's perceived moves toward independence. These exercises, which began on April 1, 2025, represent not only a direct response to Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's remarks labeling China as a foreign hostile force, but also serve as a broader message to the United States regarding its support for Taiwan's sovereignty. China's People's Liberation Army (PLA) has conducted extensive military operations around Taiwan, deploying warships and fighter jets in significant numbers. On the second day of the exercises, which authorities have dubbed Straight Thunder 2025, the focus shifted to demonstrating military capabilities aimed at controlling the maritime and aerial domains surrounding the island. Senior Colonel Shi, a spokesperson for the PLA, stated that the drills included long-distance live-fire strikes on simulated targets representing key ports and energy facilities. This robust display of military might underscores Beijing's determination to assert its claim over Taiwan, a territory it considers a breakaway province. The backdrop for this military posturing is rooted in a long history of tension between Taiwan and China, dating back to the Chinese Civil War of 1949. Since then, the two sides have experienced numerous military confrontations, with the most recent exercises further intensifying an already fraught relationship. Analysts suggest that the drills are also designed to reinforce psychological pressure on Taiwan, as well as to signal to the US that its support for Taiwan could have serious implications. In his recent speech, President Lai outlined measures to counteract Chinese influence and espionage, including the reinstatement of military tribunals for cases involving espionage within the armed forces. This has drawn sharp rebukes from Beijing, which views Lai's administration as fundamentally opposed to its goals of reunification. Major General Meng Xiangqing of the Chinese military articulated the stakes involved, cautioning that a blockade of Taiwan would severely disrupt its resources and social order, thereby deterring any moves toward independence. Despite this aggressive military posture, experts believe that China's maneuvers are carefully calibrated to intimidate without provoking a broader conflict. Amanda Seo of the Eurasia Group noted that these exercises also aim to influence U.S. policy, particularly as the Trump administration seeks to bolster its military ties with Taiwan. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, in recent discussions with Japanese officials, reaffirmed America's commitment to maintaining a credible deterrent in the Indo-Pacific and underscored the importance of countering Chinese aggression. As the world watches these developments, the ramifications extend beyond the immediate military and political landscape. The ongoing tensions reflect a complex interplay of national identities, historical grievances, and strategic interests that will continue to shape the future of cross-strait relations. With the U.S. and China locked in a broader geopolitical contest, the situation remains precarious, and analysts warn that the potential for miscalculation remains high. Looking ahead, the international community will be closely monitoring how both Taiwan and China navigate these tensions, as well as how the U.S. adjusts its strategic posture in response to Beijing's assertiveness. The path forward will likely be fraught with challenges, but it is clear that the Taiwan question will remain at the forefront of global geopolitical discussions in the years to come. In a world where global diplomacy often hangs by a thread, the recent reflections of Ambassador Nicholas Burns offer both a sobering assessment and a hopeful outlook on U.S.-China relations. After a challenging tenure as the U.S. envoy to China, Burns returned to Harvard Kennedy School, where he shared invaluable insights into the complexities of international diplomacy and the vital importance of maintaining strong alliances. Burns' return to academia comes after navigating one of the most tumultuous periods in U.S.-China relations, marked by the COVID-19 pandemic and escalating tensions over trade, technology, and human rights. During his tenure, he witnessed firsthand the ramifications of a fragile relationship that is pivotal to global stability. The U.S.-China relationship is one of the most important, if not the most important, relationships we have, Burns remarked. His commitment to public service and belief in the necessity of engagement compelled him to accept the ambassadorial role despite the inherent difficulties. The ambassador emphasized the significance of understanding the adversarial nature of the relationship, particularly as China continues to emerge as a formidable global competitor. He articulated the strategic advantage held by the U.S. through its robust network of allies, contrasting it with China's relative isolation on the international stage. China has no real allies in the world. We have over 30 treaty allies in Europe and 5 in the Indo-Pacific, he noted, underscoring that this dynamic will shape the geopolitical landscape for decades to come. A crucial aspect of Burns' role involved the challenge of conveying American values and policies to a Chinese populace largely deprived of free information. Despite censorship and state propaganda, he found opportunities for dialogue, particularly among students and academics, which he viewed as essential for fostering mutual understanding. Just having the dialogue was a step forward, he stated, reflecting on the importance of connection even in a repressive environment. However, the challenges he faced were daunting. Negotiating with Chinese authorities often involved reconciling starkly different interpretations of facts and realities. Burns recounted instances where the Chinese government actively hindered public diplomacy initiatives, highlighting the uphill battle for fostering cultural exchange between the two nations. That was the most frustrating part of the job, he admitted, illustrating the barriers that diplomacy must overcome in the face of state-controlled narratives. As Burns re-engages with students at Harvard, he is keen to instill a renewed sense of purpose in public service, an ethos that he believes is critical in the current political climate. He aims to re-establish the Future of Diplomacy project, emphasizing the need for a new generation of leaders to embrace the challenges of international relations. Our mission is to encourage bright young women and men to go into public service, he asserted, recognizing the importance of nurturing a commitment to diplomacy in an era increasingly marked by division and discord. Amid Burns' reflections, a recent poll conducted by the American Friends Service Committee indicates a significant shift in public sentiment toward diplomacy. Findings reveal that a majority of U.S. adults favor peaceful engagement with both North Korea and China, advocating for the lifting of certain sanctions to facilitate dialogue. The poll highlights a growing desire among the American public to seek out cooperative solutions rather than perpetuating cycles of confrontation. As the geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, the lessons learned from Bern's experiences and the sentiments of the American public underscore the importance of diplomacy in addressing global challenges. The stakes are high and the need for constructive engagement has never been more pressing. Looking ahead, the ability of the U.S. to foster alliances, communicate effectively, and advocate for dialogue may well determine the trajectory of international relations in the years to come. The future hinges not only on the actions of leaders but on the collective will of the people who support a more interconnected and peaceful world.